there's no fulfillment because you're not understanding your own needs, and therefore you're not getting them fulfilled because you don't understand them. So going back to mindful masturbation, that is a place where you understand them and you learn what your sexual needs are. And you learn what your individual sexual pleasure zones are, because everyone's are different. Welcome to What I Love About Sex, where some incredible guests and I, Steph Kanowski, will be bringing you the tools for improving your sex life with topics such as sex issues with your partner, sexual self-confidence, premature ejaculation, sexual shame, masturbation, sharing your fetishes, orgasmic pleasure, and more. Sex is still so taboo, and I personally believe that by improving our understanding and communication skills around sex, we can enhance our own self-pleasure as well as deepening our long-term romantic relationships. So listen in, try to stay open-minded, and let's get started. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode on the What I Love About Sex podcast. Today's episode is about mindful masturbation, and this is something that I've mentioned a few times in my Instagram stories. My clients know what it is, most likely, but for the rest of you, there's a lot of curiosity that was coming across when I would mention it. So I want to talk about it today and give you an idea of what it is and why maybe you should start doing it. So, mindful masturbation, let's just start with how you probably masturbate now. All right, let's get up close and personal. You see me with this big microphone. I feel like I'm a radio host. All right, anyway, well, I kind of am. All right, so so how you masturbate now, what you do most likely is you turn on porn and you jerk off really quick. You try to get it over with, beat the shit out of your dick, and then you're done, right? By beat it, I mean just like go really hard, really fast. It's more just to like get this feeling over with. Let me just jerk off so I can just get it out of my system, right? It's a very mindless practice that you do if you do it that way, which many men do. And what happens when you do masturbate this way so often, I'm not saying that it's not okay to do this once in a while, like if you gotta beat your dick. I don't know why I'm saying beat your dick. That must be a saying I've heard from guys. I haven't heard it recently, but I feel like beat your meat. Oh, isn't that the phrase, beat your meat? Oh my God, I should know this. Anyway, I think that's why that's coming to mind, and because it's 10:30 at night. But anyway, so what that's doing is you're essentially over time training yourself to just get it over with. Just do it. Don't focus on the feeling. Just focus on the outcome, which is ejaculation, most likely, right? For the majority of you. So when it comes to you having that outcome focused mindset and the quick mindless action of getting that outcome, sex becomes even less being about pleasure, right? Because you're not actually feeling into your body. Like, sure, it feels good when you jerk off, I'm sure. And that's the point too. You want to feel good, you want to unload, unwind, whatever. It's a good feeling. But you're not actually embodying the pleasure. You're just letting it pass really quickly. And when this happens again and again and again over time, you start using the same mentality with your partner, because that's what you know sex to be. That's what your dick is familiar with. That's what you're now most familiar with. So when you're with a partner, it's more just focusing on the outcome, right? Let's get to the point where I'm ejaculating. Let's get to the point where she's orgasming, and we don't have to worry about anything really along the way. Like, there's no actually slowing down and being present and feeling into your body and feeling what feels really good and knowing what other parts of your body, non-sexual body parts, well, every body part is sexual in my opinion, but the ones that society doesn't associate to sex, in terms of, for example, like your arms being stroked during a sensual moment. Like maybe when you're having sex with your partner, you really like your biceps squeezed or scratched, or you like your back tickled or your chest tickled, like that light like fingertip feeling over your chest. Like maybe that's something that feels really pleasurable, but you wouldn't know because you're not used to being in the moment to be aware of these feelings. You're used to just rushing past it. So now that I've talked a little bit about that and how typical masturbation with men goes, I want to explain the difference between mindful masturbation and this, what was just explained, mindless masturbation. So we just talked about the mindlessness, right? And the opposite of that is just being mindful. The opposite of that is actually feeling into your body and knowing what feels really good for you. And no, this doesn't mean tickle yourself. You're probably like, well, how the fuck am I supposed to do this? The point of this is to actually just be with your body and make the intention not to ejaculate, but make the intention to feel as good as you possibly can. And ask yourself that question. What if going into masturbation, the next time you masturbated, you really just set an intention and the purpose of it to be all around feeling good and all around noticing what part of your body feels the most pleasure? Because honestly, sometimes if you were to masturbate, and kind of just feel into yourself, like, okay, what's the tempo I really like when I jerk off? Like, what is the tempo? What is the speed? What do I think most about? What comes to mind that I actually fantasize about? Like, turn off porn and really try to go into your own thoughts and see where your mind tends to go. What is most pleasurable to think about? What, do you like a certain smell during masturbation? Some people are really, attuned to certain smells to get them sexually more turned on, or actually feel more pleasure by having a certain smell. Think about when you smell someone you're really attracted to, that you're dating or you're married to. They have a smell, right? So smell is a very powerful sexual sense. So it's things like that. It's things like, do you ever restrain yourself? Do you ever tug on your balls? Does that feel good? Does it feel good to use lube on your dick? Some guys are like, oh, well, I don't need lube. It would be for her. No, not necessarily. Lube can feel really good for you, and you can avoid any skin irritations in the way that you jerk off, which can sometimes happen, right? So what about toys? What about anal play with yourself? Have you ever even explored that? I think it's great when guys reach out to me, and I got a few messages that were just like, hey, just wanted to share, I tried anal play with myself. Not for me, but I'm glad I tried it. And I'm like, awesome. Because it will be for a lot of you, and then a lot of you, it won't so much. But at least you can say you went there. At least you could say you tried, and that's the thing. That's what we have to realize, because there's too much regret, guys, especially when it comes to sex and not trying things out of fear that it's weird or taboo, or even with fantasies. Like, oh, don't want to think about that. Like, oh, that's fucking weird. Like, something's fucking wrong with me. No, it's not. We all have things that we think about that are maybe out there, or not everyone would find it sexually enticing or attractive. And fine, that's okay. We don't even have to share our fantasies with anyone. We don't have to share them with our partner. We don't have to talk about them. They could just be something for us in our head to acknowledge, like, hey, this is a thought that excites me. Okay, interesting. All right, there's nothing wrong with just having a fantasy. It's very natural. And it's natural to have some that feel a little weird or out there. So see what I mean by when I say explore your own pleasure? It's like doing everything you can do that doesn't necessarily need a partner to experience that. Because I also have guys that are like, all right, you can only do so much with yourself before a partner. I don't think you could just masturbate. No, like, that's not the point. The point is not to masturbate your whole life. The point is to learn how to mindfully masturbate so that when you are with a partner, you know exactly what your pleasure zones are. You know what to incorporate into your sex life. This is something that so many of you guys aren't aware of. You don't know what you really love in bed, and you end up resenting your partner for it. And you actually end up resenting yourself too, because you never get your needs met, and you get to orgasm or ejaculation, and then you're like, there's still no fulfillment, you know? And there's no fulfillment because you're not understanding your own needs, and therefore you're not getting them fulfilled because you don't understand them. So going back to mindful masturbation, that is the place where you understand them and you learn what your sexual needs are. And you learn what your individual sexual pleasure zones are, because everyone's are different. You know, we all like these little things. I'm laughing because I had a partner, and this is so awkward, but it's just funny, so I'm just gonna share it. But I would like, I never did this before. I never did this. And this sexual experience I had with him where I was giving him head, all of a sudden I started just rubbing my face in his balls. And I was like, just going after it. And I just really liked it. His balls, like, he just smelled really good. And he had really nice balls and really nice dick too. But I was just like, I just want to rub my face in this. And I just went for it. And I didn't care what he was doing, or like if he liked it. I didn't even care. Like, I just went for it. And then afterwards he was like, I wasn't even going to stop you. You were so into that. And I was like, honestly, like when I was thinking about you, I was telling this to him, when I was thinking about you, like before we were together in person, I was thinking about your balls. Like the last time I was really thinking about you and like thinking about pleasure. And I didn't think I would be like, I didn't know if I would be into like just mushing my face all into his balls and going crazy for his balls. But like in my fantasy, I did. And it was just something where it's like, you know what? Maybe that would be fun. Like maybe that would be pleasurable. Maybe that would be hot. I honestly don't know. I think he thought it was hot because I thought it was so hot. It was the funniest moment ever. But it was like an experience where I felt really good about something that potentially would really turn me on about this man. And then I explored it in person, and I had that confidence to explore it because I did it in my mind first. You know, I like played it out, and therefore I went in with like so much sexual confidence when I did it that he was just like, oh shit. You know? Like his reaction was so funny. He was like, I was not stopping you there. I didn't even, I was just not gonna, because like, he was like, you just did your thing. You're really loving that, huh? Like, it was so funny. But it's like moments like that we don't get to have out of fear that, oh, what will this person think of us? Or will I actually really like that? And we ask ourselves these questions in the moment during sex with a partner without exploring them on our own, without thinking about without even fantasizing about them or knowing, like, getting comfortable with where our mind's going. You know, I could have had the thought of me rubbing my face in his ball sack and being like, oh, that's so, like, that's like weird. Like, that's not me. I don't do that. Like, I've never done that before. But I was like, you know what? It was hot in the fantasy. And I don't recommend that you try to play out every fantasy you have. Definitely not. But this was one where I was like, you know what? I trust this partner. I know he would be like, he wouldn't like judge me. I wouldn't feel weird. Like, I feel like this could really turn me on. And it did. So like, fuck it. You know, I tried it, but I had to think about it with myself first to get that confidence. And that's what masturbation really helps you do, is get a lot of confidence in what brings you sexual pleasure, things that you want to try, that you're more willing to ask for and you're more willing to go for if it's appropriate with that person. And yeah, like masturbation, if you don't have a good, I always say, if you don't have a good sexual relationship with yourself, you're going to have a really hard time having a healthy sexual relationship with another person, because it all starts with you, and you only have that partner for so long. Partners come and go. I mean, unless you've been married for like 50 years, like you probably will have at least another partner, and you will always have yourself. You know, you never leave yourself, and you, even if you're not having sex with your partner on and off, like you still can have sex with you whenever you want. Like you are always there for you. So it's remembering that, and it's kind of honoring the sexual relationship you have with yourself by not just beating your meat really fast, but I really hope that's the phrase. That'll be really bad if that's not the phrase. But I should probably Google this now. No, it's fine. Whatever. You guys know what I mean. But it's like, why treat sex with yourself like that, where it's just mindless and like, let's get this over with. And then with a partner, all of a sudden it's supposed to be amazing. And like, you want to be in the present moment and you want everything to be perfect. Like, that doesn't make sense. So rewind, go back to your relationship with you, and even ask yourself, like, if, you know, I think that the last point I want to make is that I think a lot of guys today are trying to stop masturbating and associating it to being this bad thing. And I understand that it can drain your energy physically, right? And there's, like, some of you feel differently when you masturbate than other men do. We all have our own relationships with masturbation and the effects they have on our body. I know men who masturbate every single night and feel great. I know men who masturbate every single night and feel very drained, and they feel the need to stop and pull back. And that's fine. So honor where you are sexually and hormonally, right? But also, don't see masturbation as something that is bad or a negative thing. It is not. And what makes it feel bad or negative is what you're associating it to. And going back to the whole intention of this podcast, if you're associating masturbation to being this mindless act of lust, or associated always to porn, which is something you're not proud of watching, maybe you're fine with it. I'm fine with it. Some people aren't. So you do you. But don't look at masturbation as the bad thing just because you're associating it to other things. You know what I mean? Because all it is your sexual relationship with yourself. And you don't necessarily have to ejaculate when you masturbate. All right? So there's also that. But the whole purpose of this is to help you understand that the mindfulness and getting to know yourself is really important. And it takes care of so many other issues too that you guys struggle with. Like, especially delayed ejaculation. Most of you guys who experience delayed ejaculation do so because you are holding back on your own pleasure. And you don't really know what brings you pleasure, and you're not comfortable bringing that out of you or asking for it or getting your needs met. And that's why you have a hard time coming to orgasm. it's the whole psychological factor of not knowing where your pleasure is and maybe not feeling worthy of that pleasure or not feeling comfortable expressing that pleasure or your sexual needs. So I encourage you to find out what your sexual needs are through mindful masturbation. All right. I hope this was helpful and hopefully entertaining as well. This is the 10:30 p.m. podcast version you get from me, sharing you stories of me rubbing my face in my partner's ball sack. So, sweet dreams. Great night. No, that's it, guys. Don't forget I want to just make sure you guys are aware of my Saturday sex tips email. So every Saturday I send out a Saturday sex tips, and tomorrow there will be one, but you might get this a little late to catch tomorrow's. But if you want to sign up, the link is in the description so that either tomorrow, if you make it, or next week, you will start getting the Saturday sex tip emails. Pretty much just topics like this, like my podcast, and just in more of a blog form. So definitely join that, Saturday sex tips, and have an amazing morning, evening, or night, wherever you are in the world. Talk to you soon. I hope this episode helped you. If it did, I would love for you to leave me an iTunes review. It would mean the world to me. You can also screenshot your favorite episodes and tag me on Instagram @StephKanowski. And before I go, remember, your sex life is as good as you make it out to be. Until next time.